Have you ever felt that whisper in your soul calling you to something more, but all the things spinning around in your mind have kept you stuck? Well, what if I told you that choosing excellence could be both easier and more adventurous than you could ever imagine? I am Chelsea DeBruin-Colbert, your host of All Things Excellence. I'm a soul catalyst for excellence who leapt off that corporate cliff and left small town Iowa farm life in my 20s to follow my calling, helping women come home to themselves by anchoring into who they're designed to be. I create sacred containers where women rediscover their truth, design their dream life, and transform those whispers into action. Now you can find me running my business from the soccer sidelines as a coach's wife, hiking my favorite Arizona mountain, or back in Iowa with my family, or on an adventure chasing my next sunrise, hot cup of coffee and journal in hand. Through intimate conversations about the stories, the traumas, and the transformations behind choosing excellence, we're creating a collective healing journey together. I believe in diving deep into personality designs, experimenting boldly, and learning life's greatest lessons through our beautiful chaos. Every week, my guests and I are going to rip down the curtains so you can see behind the scenes of real transformation as we explore what excellence actually looks like. Not just the highlight reel, but that messy middle where the magic happens. Whether you're seeking inspiration to take that leap or already on your journey and craving connection, this is your invitation to join us. So grab your coffee, settle in, and get ready to discover just how close you are to the life your soul is calling you to create. This is All Things Excellence. Today, I have one of my most favorite people in my life on for my guest. Her name is Stacy Foust. By trade, technically, she is a human design and gene key guide. I lovingly call her my energy manager. We have known each other for a very long time. We're both originally from Iowa, so our paths have crossed in a million different ways and continues to. But 2 years ago, in this past fall, we were at a thing together. I was very frustrated because I wasn't achieving where I wanted to, which is not uncommon for me. And she happened to swoop in with a huge, just, I don't know, deeper than the depths of the ocean well of knowledge. So, all right. So let's get started. So we know a little bit of how we know each other, but why don't you start by explaining introduce yourself. What is human design? Who is it for? And what are you loving most about it for the collective that you're
Yeah,
serving right now? Yeah.
loaded question, Chelsea.
Yeah.
Human design really helps you understand energetically who you were born to be in so many different ways. And Gene Keys is similar. It's kind of an offshoot of human design. And it's really designed to help people understand who they are because we're so conditioned by everybody else to think that we're supposed to work this way or strategize this way or make decisions this way when there's like 7 billion combinations and there's like 7 billion people on the planet. So we're so individual and we're so authentic and original.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like working with you the past couple of years with this, I guess the kind of what was, well, I'm gonna say like what was happening in my life that made me just go, I don't even care what this is. Like just tell me about it because I don't care. I can't be any more annoyed with life right now. So just tell me what this is. And then I'd love to talk a little bit about how it found you and how it transformed you, right? Like what made you so passionately obsessed with it. So basically we were in a meeting. I was at your house and we were
Mhm.
having this meeting and she asked a generic question. Basically you asked for a volunteer in the room, didn't you? I think you asked for a
I think I
volunteer.
did. I
And
kind of this conversation. Yeah.
I think you asked for a volunteer. So I'm in the back corner of the room with no shame ever. Shoots my hand up in the air at the same time yelling, "Me!" And you asked me what was going on or something. You were using the Byron Katie example of is it really true, right? And I bolted out a part of my business and I said, "This sucks." Like this area of my business, it sucks. Which the meeting that we were in at that current moment, using the word sucks is not, it was, I mean,
But they knew you. Yeah.
They know at this point, they know if I'm there, I'm going to be inappropriate in some way, right? So it wasn't the most appropriate response in this exact setting. I scream, it sucks. And we start talking about it. We get to the end and everyone's leaving. And I knew that you had something else for me. And so we were standing in your foyer and I don't know what I asked you.
I don't remember exactly the conversation, but it was almost like she knows.
Yeah,
And you did.
I knew you knew something and you would ask me a question, I said something, and then you responded in phrase, if your design. And 6 months prior to that, I had this random lady show up to my house for an appointment with my direct sales company. So we're talking like she was here to try some cleanser. And she went down the crazy train hole about this thing called human design. And I looked it up, mine up, using my birthday. And I was like, what is this wackadoodle crap? It says that I need naps. I do not need naps. I am an Enneagram 8. No one has more energy than me. This is not right. So when she said, well, if you're by your design, I said, are you talking human design? And you were like, yeah. And I said, oh, yeah, I already looked that thing up. It said I'm a projector. And you were like, no. You said I wasn't.
No.
You were like, that's not right. And I was like, thank you. I don't need naps. I'm aware that it's not right. But I was very certain about the time that I was born because it's a weird time. So, we knew that information. You looked it up and I was a projector. But I asked you later, I said, why didn't you believe that I was a projector as well? Do you remember what you said?
Is it because of your energy?
You were like,
Because you really are an energetic projector because you have
mhm.
all three of the other like motors filled in, just not the main motor.
Yeah.
So you are kind of an energetic projector.
But
Yeah.
I was also so out of alignment at that time. Yeah, there was nothing about how I was living my life that screamed, this girl is restful, peaceful, an advisor, a guide, and needs naps, which is now we know. My husband is also that exact same energy type, and he does need actual literal quiet naps. I mean, he could sit down on the couch and close his eyes and he's out. I just need to maybe go visit my watermelon in the backyard or
Right.
something like that.
Do
So
something fun. Yeah.
something fun. I just need a break. Like I just need to go do something fun. So that was really the start of it. And I think the next day we met on Zoom because you do a lot of remote appointments. And then we have been meeting every 2 to 4 weeks ever since
I know. It's kind of
September.
fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
September 30th, 2022. And what I will say to you guys is very instantly, everything that she was telling me about myself caused me to feel so validated. I know a lot of people say seen and heard, but for me, I felt very validated that these are the right ways to work. I had had a season in my direct sales business that was so unexplainably magical. But it was also so highly criticized because it was so unexplainably magical. And I had had this combination of trying to prove that I deserved those results. So I was working way too hard in all the wrong ways after someone really questioned my magic. And um yeah, I don't know. I think so I just felt validated.
Yeah. And
And explained.
that's what human design and Gene Keys does, is because when I share this information with people on a very energetic level, they're like, oh my gosh, that is so me. But my mom always said this, or my, senior always said this. And
Yes.
so we get conditioned because
Yeah.
people are like, no, that can't work
Mhm.
for you. And
Mhm.
when we look at your magic, your innocence motivation,
Yeah.
you're not really here to like have really strong, strict strategies. You're really
Mhm.
here to just trial and error and have fun and do your thing.
Mhm.
And that's what you were doing when the magic was happening.
Mhm.
And then when they
Yeah.
question, like, how many parties are you like, what are
Yes.
you doing? What's your strategy? You're not really designed to have a strict strategy.
Mm-mm.
And then all of a sudden you're like, well, maybe this shouldn't be working,
Yeah.
but
And I
it,
didn't feel like it should have. It was the amount of work that I was putting in for the results that I was getting was questioned. Quite someone that I looked up to literally looked at me and said, You've never done that amount of activity in a month or a week, let alone a month. Like, basically, the activity that I was probably doing quarterly is the activity that she had been doing weekly, but I was getting greater results. And she literally looked at me and said, "How did you get to where you are?" And I thought, what?
Project your magic.
I I don't know. But my direct mentor in my career never questioned that because it was also, she also has that same kind of just unexplainable when you're in the flow and just trusting. And, are there six motivation types, right? There's six. People are motivated by
Yep.
different things. Like my husband is
Yep.
fear motivated. He's motivated by the things that he's most afraid of. Which I love knowing that I'm innocence motivated, which that's where I have this motto that like, oh, God loves me and everything goes my way. Even if I don't quite see it yet, I just know that everything always works out for me and I just keep going with what feels
Yep.
good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's allowed me to come back into alignment with that. And I no longer let anyone question how I'm doing what I'm doing or even what I'm doing since
Mhm.
working with you. So, okay, so for you, how did this find you? What was that story that brought you to this space where how did you find it? And then what locked in for you? And then what has brought you to this place where, I mean, this is becoming one of your greatest life's work, is helping people find
Yeah.
alignment.
Crazy story because I've always been fascinated by all of the modalities of finding out who you are, like DISC and Myers-Briggs and Enneagram and Strength Finders and all of those things. And I think I was watching a video. I really wish I could remember exactly what I was watching, but I think I was watching this video on Enneagram or Strength Finders, whatever it was, my modality de jour. And somebody in the midst of that conversation, and it was on YouTube, I do remember that. In the midst of that conversation, just casually mentioned human design. And I'm not kidding, Chelsea. I had this shock go through my body. I have the gate 51, and it's the gate of shock. And when things are something I'm supposed to pay attention to, I literally get a shock in my body. It's so bizarre. But I had to stop that YouTube and I Googled human design. And when I was reading about it, it was like, oh, it's based on your birth time, birth date, and birth location. I thought, oh, that's not for me. I've never anything like that. But curiosity just got the best of me. And I did my own chart. And I'm reading through it and I'm like, how do they know this information about me? Like, it's so right on. So then, I had went down the rabbit hole. I did my husband's, I did my kids, I did my grandkids. I started talking to a few close friends, but I felt really weird about it because it is based on something that is very tangible, but intangible at the same time. Like I just didn't
Yeah.
understand it.
Yeah. Which you can get a free chart on your website, right?
You can get a free
Be
chart on my.
Unstoppable. If you go to beunstoppablehd.com, you can grab a totally free chart off of your website now. So okay, so for you, I know we both grew up in that whole like small town Iowa environment, which comes with its own stack of things that we get to mentally overcome when we see things like this. What for you, when you first were going, okay, I have to enter in my birthday, like what kind of astrology thing is this? Like, how
Yeah.
did you work through that and how have you helped other people work through that? Because I know we had a 10-second conversation and it was good enough for me. You didn't have to say much. I was like, okay, sounds great to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the first thing is that it was doing so much good work. Like, how could something good be so bad? And my friends trusted me with it. So I knew there was that piece of it. And then I was watching something else, and it occurred to me that, some things have been kind of taken out of our Bible. And one of them is astrology. And the three wise men were astrologers from the East. And they knew exactly when Jesus was going to be born because they say the stars aligned, but basically it was three planets and a star that aligned that night to create the Star of David. And so I finally understood that there's like God's in all of this. Like God is in all of this. He created the stars, the moon, the planets, and there's something about it. We don't have all the science yet, but some of the science is coming to light. But there's some science to the imprinting when we're born based on where the planets are and where the moon is and where the earth is.
Yeah. But that's what you'd said to me. You go, oh, well, the three wise men were astrologers and Jesus was born in an astrological event. I was like, sounds great. Let's go. I was frustrated enough. I'm like, I just don't care. I was pretty like, okay, God, I'm dipping my toes in something new. Just protect me and stop me if it's not good. And I'm just saying it's been 2 years and 4 months and he hasn't stopped me yet. And I
Oh,
feel
I've had a lot
right.
of prayers,
Yeah.
a lot of
A
prayers, and
lot
been
of
given
prayer.
a lot of like dreams even and information. So I know
Yeah.
what.
If anything, I feel like studying human design has encouraged me to take more time to get quiet with God and have conversations together about what's best for me.
Right.
Uh, yeah, I guess I've never thought about that, but I think so. I think because learning that I'm a projector and what that means, which we're going to go over each type here in a second, has caused me to understand how vital it is that I slow down to listen to him to be a great advisor and guide.
Mhm.
So for you, what was that transformation piece? So all of those things happened, you found it, you dug in for a second, you were like, okay, whatever, wise men, Jesus, astrological event, check the
Yeah.
boxes, pray some protection, let's start diving into this. What were the key things that happened to cause you to feel so transformed that then you knew that you had to take this to others?
Yeah. I think the main thing is just seeing how much this has helped, not just me, but every single person I have ever met with has had a profound shift. And also in my purpose, I am here to take deconditioning off of people and set them free. I mean, it's just who I was born to be. And so everything just kind of lined up. And I here again, I argued with God a lot because I'm like, but I have a successful career. Like I'm not looking for anything else, but it would not leave me alone. So that's how I knew I
And do
had
you feel like the more that you dove in, was it easy for you to go? I wouldn't say easy. Was it quickly apparent the things that you did that worked really, really well and the things that you did in your other business that almost were creating this grind? Like, could you see your own, we call it power versus force, right? Like, did human design and Gene Keys help reveal your own areas of power versus force?
absolutely. I was working a lot like a generator, couldn't understand why I kept getting sick. I ended up with breast cancer, which is another story for another day. I kept getting sick because I was working like an energy type and I'm not an energy type.
Yeah.
And like we talked
Yeah.
about earlier with you, the magic happens when we
Mhm.
get in alignment. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel so. Would you be so safe to say, as looking back now, knowing all that you know now about your energy type, you could look back and go, I can see where, knowing that the body keeps score, right? The body
Yep.
keeps score of everything. You can see where the body keeping score energetically created some of that stuff that you had going on.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I could say that for sure myself.
Mhm.
I had so much adrenal fatigue
Mhm.
before getting into this now. And I would say worse than adrenal fatigue, I think I had a lot of bodies in the wakes. I don't know if I recognized, you know
I do.
what I mean? I don't know if I realized. I knew that there were days where I wasn't as kind as I could be, but now I know the banks of my river to make sure that I don't get there,
Mhm.
right?
And it's really for you and me, it's because we have our heart center filled in. We have all this willpower, but we
Mhm,
don't always have the energy to go with the willpower.
mhm.
So willpower drives us and it leaves a lot of dead bodies along the side of the road, including our own.
Let's go through each of the basic energy types
Okay.
just to kind of touch base on what those are. So if somebody goes to your website beunstoppablehd.com, if they go there and they go to the free human design profile and it shoots out you're a manifesting generator. Let's talk about each of those types really quick and what that means for them from a high level overview.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to start with
Okay.
projectors. Because
Yeah.
projectors are really the new kids on the block. They didn't
Woo.
even appear on the planet till 1781.
Mhm.
You have this aura that is very focused, and you really can see things that other designs cannot see. It's almost like we feel seen and heard with you around. You are the new guides. You're here to guide the energy, especially of generators and manifesting generators. So you're here to be a guide.
So I know people are listening to this going, so you're not supposed to do anything, you're just supposed to tell people what to do. That's how, right? I love how people hear things. That's not necessarily what that means, but there are certain positions within careers where projectors flourish more than others, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Yes.
It's not that we aren't doing some of the doing, it's that it really is best for us to move into those positions of the doing where we are advising and guiding other people, correct? And it
Correct.
has a lot to do with how we work, right? Where we can work. It's like for me, you taught me as a projector my best energy flow where I feel like I can wake up and I can work out and then I might do house stuff for like an hour and then I'll sit in my office for 2 to 3 hours and then I go to the post office and then I'll come back and I'll do a little bit more in my office and then maybe I'll do some meal prep, cooking, whatever for dinner, spend some time with my husband. I might dip back in for 30 minutes where I can't sit down and just focus for 8 hours straight, right? That's a big
Yep.
part of it as a projector,
Big part of it.
right? Is that these naps or
Yep.
theoretical naps are more of
Breaks.
breaks, right? Like breaking up what you're doing, which you had. So my husband's in school full time right now, and you did a conversation with him. You did a session with him, and in that session, you explained this to him that you said something about we need to stop like right before we make mistakes. And you were talking about breaking up time like this, and you told him that when he's studying, instead of pushing through when he feels like he can't keep studying, he needs to give himself a break.
Yes. Yeah, he is a projector who does not have any energy centers filled in at all. So he needs more breaks than you do for sure.
He's an Enneagram 9, so he's got the least N amount of energy, the least
Yeah.
bandwidth, and he's a projector. I mean, poor
Yeah.
guy. Yeah, so that changed the way completely that he studies even.
I think that's also based on one of his variables, if I remember correctly. He
Yeah.
needs to be consistent in taking in information and processing
Hmm.
and take breaks in between.
Yep, yep.
Mhm.
And not be, he has the don't be interrupted one.
Mm.
So he would be in the middle of studying and I would burst through his office door with an idea or a question. Could be really stupid. Like, do you want hamburgers for dinner? Right. And he would get so upset. And I'm like, geez, who cares, And then when we went over his profile with you, we discovered it's a really big deal to enter into his space. I
That
saw.
is based on one of his variables. Yep.
Yeah. So that's the projector life, kind of like
Yep.
think about it like more like breaking up how we do the things that we do, which for me, that's how I do it.
Mhm.
So Kobe, I think is another great example for projector. I can do that. So for him, like let's say he moves into the role of being a teacher. Right now he's out of school, but if he moves into the role of being a teacher, like how do you navigate that as a projector?
Yeah. So if he's been invited in,
Mhm.
he will have the energy for that invitation if his authority, his decision-making authority, says yes to it. He will have the energy to do what needs to be done.
Oh, like the Taylor Swift projector wave. How she
Yes.
goes on tour for like a few years straight and then she falls off the planet for 5 years,
Yep.
right? Okay,
Mhm.
so before we move on to the next one, well, let's talk about that really quickly because I think this was probably one of the biggest game changers in my whole
Mhm.
life was as a projector, every single projector has to wait for the invitation and
Yep.
versus to initiate. And what does that mean? What does that look like?
So when you're invited in, you can't just, because you're such a good guide and you have that line of wisdom as well, where you know what's going on, you recognize patterns, and a lot of projectors really don't understand until they understand their energy that they're not really designed to just rush in and tell people what to do, even though you know.
And that could be a comment on Instagram, right? Like if you're flipping through somebody's Instagram stories and you suddenly think I should tell them this, you probably shouldn't,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel this though. I feel like I can tell if people or initiate people or wait for the invitation, right? Because some people on Instagram will be like, you should drink this soda. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I should try that. And other people are like, you should drink this soda. And I'm like, who the heck asked you? Because it definitely wasn't me. Nobody asked you.
Yeah. Yeah. So for the channel between the two of you to be open, they literally need to invite you in for your information.
Mhm.
There is a workaround to that. and saying maybe something like, I have a thought on that. Would you want to know? You can ask for the energetic invitation. But if you just rush in, either number one, they're going to get mad at you because they're like, how does she know this? And you're going to freak people out. Or number two, they're going to push against you because they weren't really ready to hear the truth yet. And I think this is the biggest thing with projectors. I think 99% of you are like, I must be wrong. You're not wrong. You're not. They just weren't ready for your
But it can even
wisdom.
be in simple things where you're standing in the parking lot and you're like, my back hurts. And your friend is like, you need to go to my guy. Let me tell you all about my guy. And you're like, I literally didn't ask you for your guy.
Yeah.
Like I just said my back hurts, you know? But so a workaround with that would be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry your back hurts. Do you have somebody you can go? Like I've got some references. Do you want one of them?
Mhm.
Which then the
Yep.
person could say, oh my gosh, yeah, what do you do? Or no, thanks, I'm good, right?
Yes.
It is in the big giant, it's in the big things where you could be trying to build your clientele,
Yeah.
right? Building your business, or in the small things.
I love how you work with me.
Oh,
Now that
I
you know
manipulate
this,
her all the time, guys. No, I don't manipulate you. Kind of. I just know how to get around it. So
you're just like, you know what? I have this podcast that I'm going to do, and I think it's going to be so much fun. And these are the type of people that I want to interview. And I'm like, well, can I be on your podcast? Like, then I invite you.
this learning this thing that I needed to be invited in has probably been the greatest game changer in my life because I think I was always coming. No, let's be real. We all know I was always coming in real hot, going after everything that I wanted. So it was a little ironic when she was like, "Hi, I know you're an Enneagram 8 who makes everything happen for the world. You're the challenger, you're the aggressor, but P.S. you need to wait for the invitation." That was like, I'm sorry, what? I mean, that was the moment I said, God, that's not cool, man. Not cool. Not funny. Not cool. You are twisted.
Right.
But what I can say is now that I have figured out how to make this work for my advantage, sometimes I feel like people are basically begging me to do what I want them to do. Like I figured how to like create kind of like it's almost like I make when I want to invite someone in to something so much, I make that topic so juicy and desirable, which probably also comes because I have the line of marketing. I have the line of sales and marketing, right?
Yep.
So I make it so juicy that they are basically like begging me to come along on this thing that I'm doing.
Yeah. And with that line, you know that they want it. Like deep down inside, you know that they're going to want it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like I'm sitting around twiddling my thumbs in my office waiting for the world to come to me at all. That's not it. No,
Yep.
no. So I just always love to clear that up because it is not that. Trust me, I'm not just sitting here waiting for all y'all to just come on up, which is part of the reason why I realized I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna start a podcast instead of telling everybody that they really should hire me as their clarity coach. I'm just gonna start a podcast and they're gonna love me so much. They're gonna be banging down my door. So just so y'all know, listen to this. This was really my here you go. Because I already see what you need to know, but now you know. So, okay, so let's move on. What are the other types? Should we do manifestor next? You're a manifestor.
Yeah, so one of the other non-energy types is a manifestor, and I'm a manifestor. And we have this aura, they call it really dense. People will call it dense and repelling, and I would definitely argue with that. We have a very either magnetic or repelling, or where people want to like get on board or they don't want anything to do with what I'm doing as a manifester. And it really has a lot to do with energy again. It's nothing but energy. And so if their energy matches mine, they're like, oh my gosh, tell me more. And if their energy doesn't match mine, they're like, they're gone. So,
and you say non-energy, projectors and manifestors are non-energy. What does non-energy mean?
Our sacral center is not filled in, and so we don't have this renewable energy like generators do. So
like they have like a never-ending battery, right?
yes, if they're using their energy correctly, it's perpetual.
Generators and mani-gens, it's like their battery never dies, right? They've always got a
Yes and no. Like their battery can die and they can lose a lot of life force energy when they're living incorrectly. When they're saying yes to things they should be saying no to, or they're following somebody else's strategy. Like they have energy leaks too. And they
But
do.
it's when they are, so if they are a manifesting generator or a generator and they're feeling burnout, is that pretty much a sure sign that they are saying yes to things that don't light them up?
Yes. Yes. Or saying no to things that do light them up. Could be that too for
Or saying
mannequin.
no to things that they wish they were doing.
Yep.
They've got a lot of resentment going on either way.
Yeah, because one of the reasons, one of the ways that Manny Gens get conditioned is everybody's like, you can't chase more than 2 rabbits and expect to catch either one. Well, not true for them, because the more things that they do that light them up, the more energy they have. Because
Okay,
if
let's
they're
talk.
only doing,
Yeah, let's talk about Manny Gens because two of my really dear friends that you know are both Manny Gens, right? And the thing that I love most that I learned from you about Manny Gens is they might wake up one day and be like, I'm going to start this new company. And 3 years later, they wake up one day and they're like, I'm done with it now. And my dad's a Manny Gen. Yes. So three very important people in my life are Manny Gen. So tell us about them and what makes them
yeah,
special.
yeah. So a Manny Gen, they're kind of a hybrid between a generator and a manifester, although they really strategy-wise need to work more like a generator. They do need to respond. Manifestors are here to initiate, so we're here to like move things forward.
They're the only ones that initiate, right? Manifestors. Okay.
Yes. So we're here to make manifestors are here to make an impact. Manifesting generators are also here to make an impact, but they have to respond. They're not really here to initiate things. So they can respond to what's happening around them. They can respond to what other people are asking of them. They can also respond to their own ideas. But when they do something, when something is brought to their attention that lights them up, then they need to respond. Is this for me or not? Yes or no?
And they just have, on average, as long as they're saying yes and no to the right things, they have a more continual energy source than someone like a projector or just a pure manifester, correct?
Right.
Right. And this I think is really important. So my mom is a projector and my dad is a manifesting generator. And all my life, I've heard a really common comment from my mom talk about how my dad just has to go, 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 go.
And he does.
Which
Yeah.
he does. Right. So what's the thing about manifesting generators that and sleeping well? You know what I mean? Don't they have to like
All generators, manifesting generators and generators need to use up all their energy.
their tank, right?
Like
Like they
get their
gotta
zoomies out at the end of the night
Yep.
before they go to bed. Because if they go to bed and they're not tired, they're not going to get good sleep. And you hear all the time, you should get 8 hours of sleep. Not generators or manifesting generators. They're only to like go to bed when they're tired, and then they get good sleep, and it may only be 6 hours of sleep or 5 hours of sleep, and they'll wake up and they'll have their renewed energy.
Claire, like I will go to bed and my friend Claire will go to bed after me, who's a generator, and she will wake up before me. I mean, I sleep my body wants a perfect 8 hours of sleep. That is what
Yep.
my little projector body loves, this perfect exact 8 hours. And Claire is literally going to bed after me and waking up before me. I mean, she'll go to bed, like I'll go to bed and she will blow out some huge project, wake up, kill it in her workout and get a huge project done, and then I'm just waking up and I've been sleeping this whole time.
Yeah, I know.
It's so crazy.
So
It's so
unfair.
crazy. But okay, so they maybe can work longer and more focused hours than us. But isn't it true projectors, we can, I mean, what might take somebody 8 hours, a projector can sit down and they can knock it out in 2 to 3 hours, right?
If it's in alignment with who they are. Yes.
If we want to.
Yep.
If we want to, right? If we want to. Okay. So there's that. Okay. So one thing I hear a lot of people go, oh, I'm a manifester. That means I can just manifest anything. That's not true, right? Anybody can manifest.
Everybody can manifest.
Everybody can manifest. It's more the fact that they're initiating and creating, right?
Right. We have manifestors have creative urges. They come out of like seemingly nowhere.
And you have to
We
ride
get these
them.
wild ideas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I
just-
watched you do that. You'll hit this, all of a sudden you'll just create 10 guides out of nowhere
Right.
after being in the desert of creativity.
Nothing's coming. It's frustrating when it doesn't come, but when it comes, it's like we can get so much done in so little time.
So so if a manifestor is listening to that, how do you do that? I mean, you run multiple businesses, yet there's this wave of creativity that comes that you have no control over. So how have you learned to ride that wave and not force it,
Yeah.
but yet embrace it, but not let it drag you down in the creation of your business?
So it's almost the inverse 80/20 rule. We
Mhm.
need to be not doing things 80% of the time. Like do things that are fun, do things that are relaxing. And then we have to be literally enjoying our lives for the creativity to come. And
Mhm.
then when the creativity comes, that's when we get our energy burst. And
Okay.
it kind of is like what you were talking about earlier with Taylor Swift. I mean,
Mhm.
I can have energy for days and then I'm done.
Mhm.
Before I understood this, I will never forget. It started in my 40s where I would be like exhausted for days. Like I couldn't even like
Yeah.
move or get out of bed. And I didn't understand it was because I was working like a generator and it'll just catch up with us where it will totally take us under if we're not careful.
That was another, see, guys, this is why you have to work with Stacy. That was another great life tip that you gave me, where as a projector, which is very similar in that limited, I feel like we get, as non-energy types, manifestors and projectors, would you say that we get project-based energy
Yeah.
bursts, right?
Yeah.
Project-based energy bursts.
Yeah.
But this is a rule that Kobe and I live by now in our house. You had said that, so we were talking about the internal battery of a projector one day or non-energy type, I think it applies probably. Correct me if I'm wrong. But basically, we are saying that when we take your Tesla and if we drive to Sedona, because we're going up the mountain, it takes way more of your battery, right? So if a projector is doing things out of willpower that they don't necessarily want to do, it's going to drain our battery quicker, right?
Very quickly.
Also, once we get to about 30% on our battery, we've got to completely recharge, right? Because once we get under 30%, it takes 10 times longer. Isn't it something too with your Tesla battery? Like, if as long as you keep it in the zone, can like quick charge. But if it gets
Mhm.
underneath, it takes
Yeah.
longer
If you
to
go to
charge.
zero, it'll take forever to
Like, you
charge.
better plug that baby in overnight. Right.
Exactly.
Right. And our as a projector and a manifestor, I think our battery's kind of like that, right? Didn't you say something? Where it's
You
like
must have heard that from somewhere else, but that makes a
like
lot of sense.
Like
Yeah.
if projectors dip under, I thought we talked about if like projectors dip under 30%, that it's going to take way longer to recharge.
Yeah.
'Cause
That makes sense.
I thought we talked about it in relation to your car one day. It was after we'd driven your car to North Phoenix, and I think we were talking about it. And then that's where I had to turn everything into a real life. What is
Yeah.
that word when you turn thing in English, when you turn things into
Apologies.
analogy? I had to turn it into a real life example. So the projector battery. So how are generators different than manifesting generators? How about that next?
That's a great question. So manifesting generators are they're designed to create efficiency in time and efficiency. So they're here to do many different things and find faster, better ways of doing them. Where
Okay.
generators are really, they learn more on a linear, stay the course. They're here to master what sparks their interest and not really deviate from that thing that's sparking their interest until they've mastered it. So it's really important for generators not to quit. Like if they get this urge to do something and their body's saying, yes, do this. Yes, go for it. They're going to hit a plateau at some time,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean they should stop. It just means they need to take a break, go do something else and come back to it later. Because if they quit, then it's like they have to start all over again. And
Okay.
so they're really meant to just keep going, take breaks, keep going, take breaks. And they're really here to master that one thing. And and it's not that they're not meant to do other things, but they
Hmm.
should master that before they move on to the next thing. And for them, everything is they
Layerable?
learn one thing and then they go on to something else, but what they learned before is going to help them in the next thing.
Okay.
Whereas Mandy Gens are just here to like skip all the steps,
Do all the things, skip all the things, and find the fastest way to get to the greatest results.
master time and efficiency. Yep.
Okay. So I have a question about generators. So their purpose is to master what sparks their interest. So I have two really close friends who had careers in a specific field that they'd done for quite a while. Like let's say they'd done these careers for, I don't know, 10 to 15 years.
Right.
And kind of in the same time, I'm watching both of them go, I don't know if I want to keep running this anymore, but I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do this really fun new career thing. And I'm going to kind of keep my hand in this a little bit, but I don't know. So is that like they need to go do this new thing for a little while just because they didn't hit what they wanted to hit over here, but have they just like burn out, gotten bored, whatever? Like what? Or is
They
it
may have mastered it to the point of they've learned everything they can learn. It
Just because they
could,
didn't hit an external achievement doesn't mean they didn't master
right,
everything they were there to learn.
right. And it's not that they want to burn down the house, like you said.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
that they're like quitting it totally and
Yeah.
burn down the house. They're going to take what they've learned over here and they're going to bring it over here and they're just going to continue on.
So there may be a day over in their new thing where they look back at that and go, that was really just for the sake of stacking some goodness over here, and I'm good. And now I feel like I can release that.
Mhm.
Because even though externally, from the world's view, they maybe didn't hit the pinnacle of the things, they
Mhm.
did energetically learn what God
Everything.
wanted them there to learn, essentially, right?
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
that's so big.
And I don't know about you, but I felt a shift from 2020, like from the pandemic, where a lot of people all of a sudden
Yeah.
are realizing that's not really what I want to do anymore. So they're maybe we're following a path that others expected them to follow, and they thought it was for them too. But then I feel like all of us reevaluated in that time period. Like, what are my priorities? What do I love? It
Well, and
seems
there's other, so there is a reflector, which is super rare, right? They're 1% of the population.
I love my reflectors.
Yeah. So say a little bit about reflectors, and then I'd love to talk about the little profile piece just a second, because I feel like that has so much to do also with this shift. Like as we're talking about that whole thing where one career can almost be an incubator for your next.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a profile, there's in your human design chart, if you go get your human design chart, there's a part that says profile and there's two numbers there. So I'd love to touch on that really quick next after we talk about reflectors, because I think that is a big piece. If someone's listening to this and they go, "Oh my gosh, I'm really feeling that. I'm not even a generator, but I'm feeling that shift that maybe this place that I have been in for the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years is actually just been an incubator for my next."
Right.
So I want to
Right.
go to that after we talk about who are our reflectors.
Okay. Our reflectors, when you look at your human design, none of their centers are filled in. They are completely open. And so they really reflect, they're less than 1%. They really reflect back to others like who they are. So for a reflector, if people love you, they love themselves. And if they don't love themselves, they're not going to love you. So it's nothing about you at all. But they're really here to like feel into spaces and energy. So funny, in talking with one of my friends who's a reflector, she's like, but I feel like a manifestor sometimes. And sometimes I can like relate to the projector or the generator. And I'm like, yeah, because you feel all of those energies, and it has a lot to do with the transit around the moon, those 28 days. So during their 28-day transit around the moon, they're picking up all the energy types and they're picking up all the gates and all of that information. So life for them, when they're in a good place, they love surprise.
Yeah.
They love all the changes and they don't know any different because this is the way they were born. And for the rest of us, we're like, how in the world? You must feel like you have like 20 different personalities, and they do, but it's all good because they don't know any different.
Yeah. And when you say their centers are undefined, we're talking about those when you look up your chart, we're talking about those little shapes. They can either be colored in or not colored in,
Exactly.
right? And to very simplify it down, they have no colored in spaces.
No colored in
It's
spaces.
And when you don't have colored in, wherever you don't have colored in spaces means you're absorbing that energy from other people,
And
right?
magnifying it.
And magnifying it. So like my emotional center is open. So if someone across the room is feeling anxious, sad, mad, whatever, I'm going to absorb that in and I'm going to blow it out to the world times 10.
Yep.
Correct? Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. And when when your spaces are filled in, which I have a lot of them filled in for a projector, my dad has all of them filled in, which is so rare.
I know. When I saw that, I'm like, is that such a thing? I didn't even know.
I would believe that he
Wow.
is so rare. So that means that you're not absorbing that in from other people, right? But you're maybe setting the tone of the room. You are what did we say that one day?
That.
You're the thermostat versus the thermometer, right?
Right.
When it's open, you're more the thermometer. When they're colored in, you're more the thermostat,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Okay, so before we wrap this up, I feel like this is a really good segue. You guys actually surprised. This is going to be a two-part thing. Part two is going to be all about career by design. We're going to talk about how your design can really shine a light on what you should literally do for a job,
Mhm.
right? Like what'll be the most aligned thing for you, depending on what your design is, which I'm really excited to get into with all of you. So, our little segue before that, I would love to talk about the part that says, wait, profile, right? No,
Profile.
profile. So, if you look on your chart, again, beunstoppablehd.com, go there, get your free profile. When you go there, there's the spot that literally says profile, right? Like it's going to say like, oh, you're a projector or a manifestor. And then there's going to be these two numbers, number slash number. Mine happens to be 3/6, which is trial and error on steroids, which is really fun. I know.
Yes.
It's a good time. What does that part of your chart mean? Because there's six numbers, but what does it mean really? I always kind of forget.
Yeah. So it really means so the first number is your conscious and the second number is your unconscious. And so this is kind of the design of how you like move through life. So as a 3/6, you're here to like make a lot of mistakes. It's how you learn. So threes are trial and error. Girls just want to have fun. And that with your motivation of innocence on top of that is like, yeah, trial
Well,
and
and
error.
right, like if you look up your kid's profile and they have a 3 and you're really mad because they feel it's like you try and get them to learn from your mistakes and for some reason they can't, they can only learn from their own. They're literally wired like that, right?
Yes.
Right. Like let them do it. They got to.
Yeah, it's really important that they learn through trial and error and not from a
Yeah.
textbook and not from anybody else's experience. You're
Yeah.
here to, yeah, learn from experimenting.
This
For
was funny in our marriage though, because when you told Kobe this, he came home and he said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so annoyed. I'm so frustrated." And I was like, "Why?" He said, "This is that piece of you that you will watch me try and assemble something 5 times in a row, and then you have to take the tools and you have to do it yourself. And I will say to you, I have already tried 5 times. It's not possible." And you will say, "Just let me do it." I know, I just have to. I know that 27 people before me tried it and failed, but my soul is quaking. I've got to just try it myself.
right. Yeah, you learn from doing, not
Yes,
from watching, not from learning out of a book. No, you learn
right?
by doing.
Okay, so from a business standpoint,
Yes.
in my other business, when my mom will say, watch this video or read this script and just do it. And I can't. I've never been able to. And I'm an immersion learner. That's part of
Yes.
that, right? Having that 3 in your profile.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one is your unconscious. So that's like literally kind of your style of life, right? Or conscious. The second number is your unconscious. So what does that mean?
Yeah. So being a 6
Hmm.
is the role model. And so the 6 works in like 3 different stages in your life. And so from 0 to 30, you're living as a 3. So you're a double 3. Like you have to make mistakes. It's all about trial and error. And then unconsciously, about the age of 28, 30, you kind of step back and they call it going on the roof, where you kind of like watch other people and how they're doing things. But you're really a good study of people, especially being a projector with that. So you're really a good study of people. You recognize patterns. That is your 2343 line, you recognize patterns. And so you're really like looking at how the world works. And then energetically, when you hit about 52-ish in there, you really step fully into the role model, where energetically people know you've lived a lot of life, you know what you're talking about, so they seek you out for your wisdom, and it's energy. Like, you're not doing anything to create that. It just energetically starts to happen.
And
Not
that's
that
one of
they,
the six in your profile.
yeah, not that there's not seeing you as a role model now, but
Yeah.
it'll be like very evident when you hit that third stage of life.
Yeah. So for me, I'm, wrapping up my 30s here in the next 45 days.
Yeah.
And I have expressed this to you that I feel almost like a demeshing, right? Where I feel like pieces of my identity, which there's an identity center, and mine is yeehaw, yeehaw. Mine's colored in. So it's harder for me to go do a new thing than most people.
Not impossible, but
It's just
yes.
a little bit more challenging. And then my head, the top shape of my head is also colored in, which means it's a little bit harder for me to grasp new thoughts.
Mhm.
So I feel like with those things being said, and then that 3-6, both of them, I'm in a kind of like entering that 40 era. It's pretty much a transformational time in
Mhm.
general, right? So
Yep.
that aligns with I've been feeling almost this, I say I've been feeling like this demeshing of my spirit where I'm not sure if what I've been doing I necessarily want to keep doing, not
Mhm.
because I don't even know if it's not because I don't want to. It's like I just don't, I feel like there's just something else I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. So at 40, you hit that trajectory in your
Mhm.
profile, which I can't remember what yours is off the top of my head,
Yeah.
but you
What's the
move from
trajectory? What would that
trajectory.
be? Trajectory?
Is yours observer, observed?
Yeah, so I was observer and I'm going to observed.
Yeah.
No, observed
No,
to observer.
backwards.
Was observed and now I'm observer, right? So
Yes.
it's like I was the life of the party and in the middle of the room. And now I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm really good just not. I'm
Yes.
good just not doing that. I'm good just being at home.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
really now moving into your observer stage of life where and it's interesting that it's happening at this time because you're on the roof and you're pulling back and you're watching how things are done and how people are operating. And so this really helps you. And we're going to talk about this on the next podcast, but really helps you do what you do and like
Yeah.
shining the light on people. And
Hmm.
it's not about you having or wanting or desiring the light on you. It's you wanting to shine the light on others.
For sure, the era that I'm heading into, there is nothing that makes my soul more on fire than getting to just shine the light and shout from the rooftops. People, places, products that I love. Like
Yeah.
whatever person, place, or thing I'm obsessed with, all I want to do is make sure that the world knows that they too should have a part of this, right? And just
Right.
letting the world know.
Yeah.
And I think also I feel like I've come into that space where I know it's like every day I wake up a little bit more after working with you, knowing that all of the great things I've ever done actually have nothing to do with me at all. It's every day you wake up more and more knowing you're just a vessel,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Every day. And I think that that has been part of this like demeshing thing of, what do I really want and how good can it really get?
Mm-hmm.
And what does it mean to just be aligned? And not that I can't have a little, I actually really enjoy the hustle.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy like going after something, but I also really enjoy giving myself that permission to do nothing,
Yeah.
so that way I can show up as my best self. And sometimes that looks, it's the silliest thing, as this is a silly applicable thing that you taught me of. I don't sleep in spaces with people who are like manifesting generators or generators. because I don't,
Yeah.
you don't sleep well if you're a non-energy type, because you can literally feel the little motor going. And
Yeah.
so then you don't sleep. And at work conferences, where a lot of times we would all room together,
Mhm.
that has been the weirdest little thing to give myself permission going, that really truly is not my best yes. I'm not being a controlling weirdo. It's really real.
It's really
It's
real. Oh
really,
my
really
God.
real. So, okay, so give us a little like a little teaser as to what our next episode is going to be about. The career by design.
This is like my favorite thing. Always, there's just something about it. And I know it's my life's purpose
Yeah.
in Gene Keys, but I love helping people come into alignment with what they want to be doing in life. And it's alignment in a lot of different ways. It's not just the what you do for work, it's how you do it, who you do it with, the way you like do it. Like there's so many things. And motivation is one of the biggest things pieces in there because we can be out of alignment in our motivation and everything can fall apart. So there's
Mhm.
just a lot of little tiny things that go into it.
Yeah.
But once you figure it out, it's like, yes, I was born. It's the difference between excellence and genius. Like,
Mhm.
it really gets you to this place where it's like work should be effortless. It
Yeah.
really should. It
Yeah.
should be fun. It should be play. It should be effortless.
I will say one little sneak peek of it. We have grazed over mine. So the next episode, we're gonna go into deep detail of mine, so you guys can we'll talk all about mine, so y'all know what it will be like if you decide to go and dig into yours. But I will tell you, after Stacy and I talked a few days ago about mine, something emerged about one of my businesses and how I used to view it, and I forgot that I used to run around when people would say, what do you do? You know, the most common question we get in America, what do you do? Right? Like, what's your job? You know, what do you spend 1 million hours a week doing? And that question has bothered me all my life. But I got to this point where I would say, oh, I celebrate women for a living. I celebrate women for a living. And I was sharing with my husband about the conversation that we had, and all that we discovered, that the all the pieces that are the best yeses for me to be the most aligned in my career choice and what that would look like. And I said to him, there's this piece in there. And it basically says, like, I'll always attract all the money that I need to celebrate all the people that I love. And I said, I forgot I used to tell everybody I celebrate women for a living. And I couldn't even finish my sentence. And Kobe goes, oh man, yes, you did. Yes, you
Yeah.
did. And I
Yeah.
said, I think that's when I love my life the most. But I forgot that that's what I loved. I
Yeah.
forgot that it wasn't about hitting sales or plaques and all these
Mhm.
crazy trinkets that I was getting. I just literally loved showing up to celebrate other women, no
Yeah.
matter what stage of life it was in or what part of my career I was doing it in. It's like there's some quote about really great friends will sing back the song when you've forgotten the words, to your soul.
Oh,
That is what I feel like you did with that career by design last week.
that's so great.
Because
Love it.
I just forgot that's like the core of my happiness.
Mhm.
hmm So
So,
simply, so simply put. So,
so cool.
okay, so as we wrap it up, we always talk about excellence and 80/20. So what is your ideal self? What's excellence for you? And then what's a fun little 20% dirty secret? We all know mine's Dawn dish soap. So I love non-toxic living, but I love my Dawn dish spray.
I love that. Excellence for me as a manifester, excellence is all about peace and expansiveness. I need room and freedom. Freedom is big for me. So I need room to breathe, to do what I want to do when I want to do it. I don't work well with we were talking about the miracle morning before.
Yeah.
I have a love-hate relationship with the miracle morning. Like I
It's
love
great for me.
Mhm.
It's not great for you.
Yeah, because you have that left facing variable and mind
Correct.
faces right. So I
Correct.
love doing those things, but I don't want to do them in the same order. I don't want to do them at the same time every day. I need a lot more freedom and flexibility in my life. So to be able to really live my best life, it's a hitting a few things every day that I know I love doing and that fill my cup, but then having enough space for like my creative urges to come forward and
Oh, wow.
do what I want to do when I want to do it.
Yeah.
I always said to my mom, I'm the best boss of me. Like, and I am. I'm the best boss of me. Not to have
Yeah.
told what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, living my
Yeah.
best.
All right. Do you have a 20% little dirty little secret that you
Oh,
can think
you
of?
know. Yes.
I know.
As an Enneagram 5, I tend
Oh,
to go to
a
7.
7 in stress.
Yes. And so
Indulge.
every once in a while, getting out in nature doesn't always do it. So every once in a while, I have to like do a Netflix binge with chocolate and a glass of red wine for sure. And maybe a few glasses of red wine.
A bottle. Some days we just need a bottle. See, this is what happens when you don't. This is what happens when, as a manifester,
Uh,
you're not managing your energy correctly and your schedule. Next thing you know, you're crashed on your couch, binging Netflix with a box of chocolate and a bottle of wine. No glass needed, right? Like, there we are.
right. That's funny.
I love it. I love it. I love it. We love giving all of you out there just a little bit of hope that we have. I always say, what's your ideal self? And then what happens when just all the plates have fallen and nobody can hold them up anymore? And, we're eating Kraft mac and cheese out of the pan with a giant plastic ladle, right? Here we are. So, okay. Well, thank you so much for just jumping on here today, shining some light on what is human design, again, why people want to find it. I know we can find all of you. We can find you on YouTube and Instagram and all the places, but the best place to go to get access to that is beunstoppablehd.com, which by the time you're listening to this, it should be officially launched, the HD Hub, where you can have beautiful access. You guys, I've seen behind the scenes. There are loads of meditations and guides and just all of these beautiful resources to help you on your human design journey. So I recommend being a part of that community with Stacy. One thing I'll tell you is there's no one that will over deliver like Stacy. So I promise it is a good investment to be a part of. So, and don't forget to keep going. Go on to our next episode where we are going to talk about career by design, and you can learn why this is a session that you're going to want to schedule with her. So, thank you so much for giving us your time today. Bye, everybody.